Hey, what's up, guys? This is John.
And Snakeskin.
And we are here with one of the coolest metal musicians in the entirety of the Brony fandom, Princewhateverer.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
It's dope to be here.
Always.
So the first question we have for you, I ask everyone this because I feel like it's one of those questions that's just always so different to each individual person. But what is your Brony story? How did you get into the fandom?
Oh my god. Okay. Oh jeez, I'm trying to think if I can run this down quick because it can get kind of stupid. So when I was a kid, my parents had the VCRs of the old 80s show. VCR, whatever. They had the tapes of the old show, and I actually really liked them when I was a kid. I don't know why we had them. Maybe they thought I was going to be a girl. I don't fucking know.
Oof.
But yeah, I used to watch them. I loved them, and of course, when I grew up, I kind of stopped watching them. But when I was in college, I had a really big scene phase, and there was a shirt I found online that was Pinky and Rainbow Dash doing a bro hoof, and it said Bronies before Honies in like a really cool font. And I was like, yo, that's fucking sick. So I bought it and I wore it to college. And then a friend of mine was like, yo, I didn't know you were a Brony. And I was like, I don't know, what the fuck are you talking about? And he told me that there was a new series. And so I checked it out and I just fell in love with it, and the rest is history, I suppose.
That's awesome. That was basically the same for me and John, except for me, I just saw a bunch of Fluttershy clips on YouTube, and I was just like, I gotta be about that.
Yeah, man, it was a good time.
Well, I actually found out for myself, I found a bunch of my friends that were already Bronies, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? This is weird. And one of the YouTubers that I watched actually posted on Twitter that he watched it and it made him happy. And I had actually put a Facebook post up that said, legit, why is it that whenever I turn my back, another guy I respect turns into a Brony? And I later checked out the show, and the rest is history.
And that is called eating crow, my friends.
Exactly.
Hey.
Next question we have for you is, what DAW/plugins do you use when you record and master out your music?
Oh geez, the DAW is Cocos Reaper. I actually really love this program. It's fantastic. For plugins, I use a ton of different plugins. Mostly, I use the stock plugins in Reaper and FabFilter's suite of plugins. Those are the two main sets I use. But there's like other ones, like I use some Ozone stuff for mastering and some different random crap here and there. But yeah, mostly Reaper with stock plugins and FabFilter's effects suite. It's great.
Because I know there's some musicians out there that don't have as good a mastering. One that I can specifically think of is Cyril the Wolf.
Ooh,
but
called out.
I still love his music. Don't get me wrong. But I have to say that your music is very slickly produced, and it has a really good mastering feel to it. It doesn't feel warbled at all.
I was telling him one time, I was just like, dude, this guy, Princewhatever's music sounds like it was mixed in like Tennessee or in Nashville or something. His production is so dope.
Hey, I'm really glad you guys like that. I do say a lot that like I'm more of a producer than I'm a musician. I don't think my songs are anything too special. I think my production is where my real expertise is. But yeah, I'm glad you guys think so. Thank you.
Next question we have for you is, I have seen some of your more recent videos, and I've noticed that you've been playing drums in some of them. What did you learn first? Did you learn guitar first or drums first?
Oh, it was drums first, years ago, before I ever even thought about playing guitar. It's just that drums are inconvenient. They're very big, they're very loud, they're hella expensive. Like they annoy your family, they annoy your neighbors. They're fucking impossible to record. Like you have to have 12 mics and a treated room, and they're hell to mix as well. So having a real kit is just so inconvenient on every level.
I totally agree with that. I've been a drummer for many years myself, and my parents bought me a $500 set. It was absolute crap. I still have the actual set, but I pretty much would have to change out all the heads in order for it to sound anything good.
I don't know, dude. Sounds like you got a perfect kit for punk right there.
And the other big thing is, you were talking about how you have to hook up like 12 microphones. I definitely see that, because I don't know if you know a musician by the name of Cobus, but
I know Cobus.
That's the only person that I've ever seen that can do really good mixing and mastering of his drum covers. And I think that is because he has like 15 different microphones going at once.
I can also back up Princewhatever's claim because my bands I'm in, we record all our own stuff like in-house and stuff, and yeah, it really does take about that many microphones to get drums right. So it's a pain. It's like one of those it's worth it pains, but it's still a pain.
Yeah, like if you have the expertise for it and the time and like all the other crap I mentioned, then yeah, it's totally worth it. It's just in my situation, my neighbors get mad, my mom will get mad, everyone will get mad. It's just not worth it right now.
We had another question here on the doc before this, but I actually was curious. I thought about it right now. Do you, Prince? Do you do your own? Mixing, or do you? I think you probably just answered that, but yeah, do you do your own mixing and mastering?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's like the mixing and mastering is something I really pride myself on. So it takes, you have to be something really special for me to let you like mix my tracks, because I hate when other people touch my stuff, basically.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I do it all myself. Unless like, I'm trying to think, have I ever had someone else? I think I have a friend of mine, because a friend of mine from college, we both went to the same college for music, and he was kind of really scrubby and not very good at it when we started out.
Oof.
But now he's about as good, if not better than me. So like, if I'm unsure about a final mix or a master, I'll tell him to come around, and we'll sit in my studio and like check how everything's sounding. And his advice is usually pretty solid, and he does a lot of stuff that I don't do, that I don't think about. So like, having his input is really useful. But overall, I do it all myself.
It's always good to have a second opinion as well, because with any kind of industry, even with YouTube, you're constantly wanting to improve and keep everything improving over time.
Absolutely.
Next question we have for you is knowing the fact that you have a long list of genres when it comes to either light rock all the way up to basically screamo. What are some of your musical influences? It
changes a lot. Well, no, it doesn't really change. It's always the same bands. It's just it changes who I listen to the most at one time. I don't know. It goes from like Green Day, Blink-182 to like Asking Alexandria, Attack, Amity Affliction, and then there's more kind of there's bands that like do the same kind of thing that I do, where they kind of move genre a lot. Like Hands Like Houses, they started out pretty post-hardcore, but the only difference is they didn't really have screamy stuff. It was all super melodic stuff, and then they kind of moved into more heavier screamy stuff recently-ish, and they've also done a ton of really light acoustic. Great, I don't know, they've done everything, and I just love it, and they always sound good no matter what they try.
Pierce the Veil was kind of like that too, if memory serves. I think.
Yeah. One other band that I can think of that kind of did a lot of genre switching when they were, an older band, which actually I know them personally, but Skillet, when they first started out, they were going everywhere. I remember, Alien Youth was basically a ripoff of Nine Inch Nails, and then you had then you had Collide, which was basically metal as far as you could go with that. But yeah. So Zakeskin, I know you have a few questions you want to ask.
Yeah. When I tried to pick some questions that were more focused on the music, because I'm a music guy myself, so whenever I have the opportunity to ask anyone else about music stuff, that's always really fascinating to me. Brain turns into a sponge, and I like to learn and stuff.
Sure, like I love talking shop.
At the risk of sounding like a unprofessional fanboy, I've literally been listening to your music for years, so I was like, well, I gotta get up early on a Sunday, but you know what? It'll be worth it. So, my first question is, kind of a general thing. What's some current bands you're listening to right now?
Current bands? Honestly, I don't really listen to music that much. If I listen to I listen to like, if I'm not doing like music myself, I just put on like lo-fi in the background. That's pretty much all I listen to. But like when I do listen to bands, it's stuff like Hands Like Houses or Amity Affliction or The Used a lot. I really like their stuff. It's just crazy. Don't know who else. Like, let me pull up my media player real quick. Let's take a look, refresh my memory, because I listen to them kind of passively, so I don't really remember who it is I'm listening to. I have a playlist of old like 2012, 2013 horse music I listen to a lot. Oh, Bring Me the Horizon. I listen to those guys a bunch.
Oh yeah, those guys are awesome.
I've been like kind of getting back into Ghost Town. Another couple bands I forgot really influenced me is like My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy. I love them so much. Ugh.
Okay.
But yeah, and a bit of Panic at Disco and stuff like that. Just like, yeah, kind of mid 2000s emo-y crap, you know. That's my
I get you. Those were all the rage when for me it was when I was in high school, and I remember hearing them, all over the place and in the scene and stuff. So it's kind of like a nice little throwback hearing all those names.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Snakeskin actually lives in California, so he's like at the epicenter of music.
Oh yeah.
So
it's we're ground zero for a lot of cultural stuff, except for maybe like, I don't know, New York. So it's tricky to keep up with stuff, but most of us are just vibing. We just do our own thing.
Yeah, gotcha. Nice.
Next question I wanted to ask was about there's a fair amount of songs on the Princewhatever channel that have like a reinvent / reimagine tag next to them in the title, and I was curious. It's a bit of a two-parter. The first is it? Would you say there's a difference between the reinvent and the reimagine, tags? And if so, what was the inspiration to? Well, not if so. What was the inspiration to revisit some of your classic songs?
Okay, so first off, the tag isn't, like, in some cases it kind of means what most people think it means, like it's a redux of a song, but Reimagine and Reinvent are both albums, so if they have that tag on, that just means they're from that album. Although I do redux a song for an album, but like the fact that tag is there is just because it's on the album. It's not really because it's a new version. Like if it's an old song that's been, because I think I have Your Own Sky listed as Reinvent, even though there's only one version of that song, just because that's on the album, and I didn't really update the mix that much. But I do revisit a lot of my songs, and it's usually because as my production has kind of gotten better, because production is something you can learn. You can just learn how things sound when they're good, and you can just improve that over time. But songwriting is like, that's your base creativity. You can't really just become more creative. It's kind of you are or you aren't kind of thing. Like, you can influence yourself in different ways to help out, but overall you can't just become a creative person. You're just kind of born that way. And I'm not that creative, so as my production's gotten better, my songwriting hasn't gotten that much better. So a lot of time I'll be like, okay, I wrote this old song, and the songwriting's kind of, it's good enough that I would still write something like that today, but I feel like my production didn't do it justice, so I'll take it, do it again, because I feel like there's potential there that wasn't, like fully realized because my production was kind of trash. So I'll try and make it something worth listening to with my current level of like skill in production, I guess. But yeah, that's why I redux a lot of songs on my albums, and it helps fill out the track list, and I sometimes will even change like lyrics and guitar riffs and stuff, because I'll feel like, oh, I wrote that kind of, like, there's a definite kind of amateur hour feel to my old stuff that I'm trying to get away from in my newer stuff. But it's hard, because that kind of feel can also be a kind of charm that people like. So it's hard to, what would you say? It's hard to make sure you're only getting rid of the stuff that is actually worth getting rid of, and not kind of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, Like, I don't get rid of parts of how I wrote songs that were actually like integral to what made the song special. But I don't really get to define that. It's the listener who kind of defines what made the song special to them. So if I can't, so it's really hard to do that properly. But yeah, I will revisit all tracks. because I feel like the production could have been better, where the songwriting was good enough.
Gotcha. So you would say it becomes a thing of trying to find the aspects of a song that you feel that objectively need changing, but of course what objectively needs to be changed could be subjective to the listener as well as yourself, and of course as your skills and tastes evolve over time. It sounds really tricky.
I've learned a lot of lyrical writing techniques that, like, there's certain words you shouldn't use in certain places and certain rhyming schemes you shouldn't really use because they're so easy and basic, and it feels like Babby's first song. And I don't often change the lyrics because, like, obviously if you're gonna change things, it's usually just the mix, like the guitar tone I will change, the drum tone and all this, and just the general mix I will change. But I'm changing what the song is, like its lyrics or the guitar riffs and stuff. I try not to, because that's kind of what makes the song that song. And even if I do it completely the same, like an identical version of the song just with a new mix, and I'll just re-sing the lyrics again, a lot of people will be like, oh, I've said, they're like, oh, I preferred the way you sang it in the old one, it sounds like there's more feeling in the old one, and I'll listen to the two and I'm like, no, I definitely put more feeling into the new one. But it's not up to me once it's out there. It's like, it's up to the listener to kind of interpret it as they want, because it's a creative medium, it's totally subjective. But yeah, it's hard, but I do what I can, and mostly it's worked out, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I feel you. Next, I wanted to ask about, I remember feeling so lame that I wasn't able to make it to any of the live shows that you ever put on. And speaking as someone who's performed with bands and stuff live, kind of a softball question here. Is it nerve-wracking to play on stage until the very moment you start?
It can be, yeah. I used to be in bands around like my local scene, like semi-local. We used to actually we started getting somewhere before I kind of quit that and started doing Pony like full time. But there were other reasons for that, band member like disputes and all that crap. But yeah, like back then I would get nervous before every show and I would freak out. After that, when I started doing Pony, because like around the time I stopped was when our band was like doing the best that it was, like technically. So I wasn't really getting nervous that much anymore. But and then when I started doing shows, Pony, like live performances, it didn't bother me too much. The only ones that did bother me was BronyCon, because the stage is huge, the crowd is huge, the lights are up. Like it's like you're playing an actual festival, and like and I've only done that like a couple times before I got into Pony, so I was like, it's like going from Little League into like the big time. It's like, God, okay, now everything I do matters and I have to like pay attention and not screw up. I can't just kind of whimsically get on stage and screw around and have a good time. Like, you have a good time, but you can't afford to make big mistakes. You can make a couple little ones and kind of laugh it off, but if you make a major mistake, it's like, oh, I look like a total scrub now in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So in a way, you definitely felt like Spike in Equestria Games, where you were in front of that huge crowd.
I saw I had a moment like that. I did. Oh God, was it the last BronyCon? I think it was the 19. Yeah, because I played Solidarity live on that stage, and usually because that song's got a ton of synth and like keys and everything, I run a backing track, but we couldn't do that because I only had 2 songs, so it wasn't really worth setting up all my gear for just 2 songs. And also that song's really hard to sing, so I couldn't. What is it? I usually have like a half an hour to an hour set, so I have some time to warm up before I hit that song, because that song's really hard to sing. But I had 1 song to warm up and go into it. So, and it was all live instruments. There was no backing track or anything to help like fill out the sound like I usually would have. So it sounded, I don't know. I got the stems back off the guys and I mixed it a little bit. It sounds okay, but compared to like other times I've played it live, it's just not as good.
Yeah, I get you, especially on the nerve scene. It's like you go from these other cons, which aren't like, they're not nothing. They're not like teeny tiny, but then you got to go to BronyCon, which is just like tiny walk-in. It's like, dude,
yeah,
it's like it's just such a jump.
It was crazy. Like I played like Cider Fest, and that was awesome. Like, cause yeah, it's not really that the con is smaller. Well, that's part of it. I would say it's more like, cause it's a smaller room, a smaller stage, and like I had the whole band with me. It was a ton of fun. and the crowd filled the whole room, and they were like all close up. So, and I don't know, because it's a smaller con. I'm trying to get my thoughts together on this. It felt more friendly, it felt more intimate, because they were like right up there against the stage with you. They were like cheering for everything, having a great time. So like it's a super relaxed environment. Whereas BronyCon, because you got such a big crowd, it's so varied a kind of people. Like, because it's the kind of people, if they go to only one con a year, it's this con. And at Ciderfest, like it's either they're local or they just hit every con they can, because like it's a smaller con and you can afford to just do that. So, and they're just hyped. They're willing to put that into, like, you know, going to see fandom content. Whereas BronyCon's like, for a lot of people it's the same kind of thing. They'll go because they love the show, and of course they do. But a lot of it's like, a lot of people are kind of like one and done. That's like the one con they're going to hit in the whole year. And so some of them can be really judgmental there. Whereas smaller cons, I feel like everyone's just kind of there to have a good time. So I'm more nervous at BronyCon because of that. Well, I was anyway. Rip BronyCon.
Yeah. One of my, I do remember, you know, watching the concert at Ciderfest, and one of the craziest things that I remember was that everyone just decided at random to do a pony wall of death.
Oh, man.
Like in the middle of the concert.
Oh, man.
And I thought that was so awesome.
Yeah, like stuff like that you couldn't do at BronyCon. There's no way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, funny hearing John ask that. I remember when he told me that story, and I thought, you know, that's somehow slightly more or I don't know if it's more or less believable than people moshing at the Wiggles, but I was gonna ask you, you know, the camera angles from the concerts I've been able to see, they don't really get the crowd, they just focus on you and your luscious hair. Were there any? Do you ever get like any sick mosh pits?
Yeah, Ciderfest was a particularly good one. If you saw any videos, there were a ton of videos for like people on their phones, but at Mayhem, the first one at BronyCon 19, it's like our own little event we ran outside of the con, because the con, like, it's not really the con's fault, they were strapped for time musician-wise, so like a lot of the kind of more contemporary like rock and metal musicians didn't get a slot. I was lucky enough to get a slot with just 2 tracks, but like a lot of the others didn't get anything, so me and my friend Sam, we put on Mayhem Fest, which was, God, I don't know how many hours it was, like 5 hours. We rented this whole bar for 5 hours, and after the closing ceremonies for BronyCon 2019, up until like midnight, no, up until 11 p.m. I think it was, from 6 p.m. So that'd be like, what, 5 hours? Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had every metal artist who couldn't play playing there, and we thought, oh, we might like fill up half the bar and it'll be okay. The entire bar, because it was a free event, we paid for it out of our own pocket because we just wanted to have a big send off for the last BronyCon. But yeah, we thought like, oh, we'll get half people in, and sell some shirts and make a little bit of money back, I guess. But now we filled out the entire bar, completely packed the place, and outside on like their big what would you call that? It's like the bar is up, it's up some stairs, and then there's like a bar on top of this building, and then outside is like a big outdoor part that kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, all out there was full of people, the whole place was just packed, and there were like walls of death and mosh pits and even crowd surfing in this fucking bar. It was insane. And like, it was such a good time. Yeah, it was sweet. Like, we almost...
It sounds like a sick party.
Yeah, everything nearly screwed up because, some of our gear was kind of not working-ish, but we made it through just about, and it worked out in the end, so that's good.
You know,
and yeah, that was probably the best time I had, like, mosh pit and crazy crowd-wise, because it was a completely, like, 18-plus event. There was alcohol everywhere. People were, like, I don't know, screaming. You could swear. I could talk shit on stage, which I could never do normally at a horse con.
That always feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was just a completely, like, sick event. Oh, man.
Yeah, you know, that's something that a lot of folks don't really. That's one thing about the fandom that people usually sleep on is bronies know how to party.
Yeah, jeez.
Like, they be wildin', dude. So,
absolutely.
Actually, when you mentioned you had the backing tracks, my next question was going to be the decision to play solo. Was that a personal preference on you, or was it was it more of a matter of time and money not being able to put a band together?
Do you mean like when I write stuff for my channel, or like when I play live?
No, I'm sorry. I meant when you perform live.
Oh, it depends on the situation. I do have a few people, because like most of these cons are in the US, and I have a few people there who do hit cons pretty often, who, like, they know my music, they know how to play my songs, so I've shown how to play it to play them because they're friends of mine and they like. And I just, having a band is what I prefer. So I try to, if any of my friends are going to be there who are also musicians or play instruments, I'll like hit them up, be like, yo, do you want to be part of the thing? We can do the thing, it'll be sweet. And there's one guy who plays drums professionally, like as his full-time, I think it was his full-time job, but he's moved on to a different kind of musical career now. But he like approached me and wanted to play a bunch of stuff, and we've played like 3 shows together in the US now, which was a ton of fun. He's an absolutely phenomenal drummer.
Was he the drummer that was at Ciderfest?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he's great. It's out of necessity, really. Like because a lot of my music, I don't really think about playing my music live. I don't write it to be played live. So, and that used to annoy me because whenever I'd come to make my live backing track, I'd turn off all the vocal because I'm obviously going to sing it live. But then I couldn't do it because there's so much just back to back and it just keeps going. I don't have time to breathe because I didn't write it with playing live in mind. But now I've just kind of embraced that. I'm like, I'll let the backing track like take care of a couple lines of vocals so I have time to let it breathe for a second, then I can go back in and do it myself. And stuff like that, like guitar parts, like if I play solo, I'll have the backing track maybe take all the guitar for a verse so I can just fully concentrate on vocals or something. But so if I play live, I will backing whatever's necessary. But the way I do it, I have all the tracks like separate. I don't just have one backing track that plays. It's like they're all playing at the same time, but it's like your drums and your guitar and your backing vocal and stuff. So if I have a drummer come on, all I gotta do is go in and just mute the drums and then have the real drums play instead, and it just works easy. So, and even if I have a drummer and a second guitarist and a bassist, I still run a backing track because there's stuff like synthesizers and crap I'm always running now. And there's a lot of like processing I like to do on my laptop, and my laptop runs my guitar amp anyway, so like either way I need it. So yeah, it's worked out pretty well so far. It was a bit complicated to set up and expensive because I needed a pretty beefy laptop, but it's working out pretty well right now. So yeah, that's the me.
Awesome. Awesome. So this next section, one thing I always thought would be neat to do whenever talking to a musician. I always thought it'd be neat to like hone in on like specific like albums that they've put out and like kind of walk through the process of that. But for this, I thought it'd be kind of cool. I went through some of my favorite songs, just a few of my favorite songs that you ever put out, and I wanted to kind of zone in on the production of them, while also asking some stuff about the process for writing those songs and songwriting in general. The first song I wanted to kind of like semi deep dive into was Between Fairy Tales and Happy Endings.
Yeah. Which
for the audience features Liquid Cobalt and Ismboth.
What's interesting about that is the fact that was the first song I ever heard from you. I didn't know you had a lot more metal music, but when I got into the fandom in 2012, that was the one that specifically came up and what got me hooked on to listening to your music. So that was
sweet.
Yeah. So when you put a song together that has a feature, a good number of your songs have features on it. Is there a when you put a song like this together, do you have those that one or two specific collaborators in mind? Do you write the song with them? And if you write it, by yourself and then pick them later, what would you say your selection process is for choosing your collaborators?
For features and stuff, like I'll often feature Sable because he's amazing at writing vocal harmony, and I cannot write them at all. Like I've gotten better, but I can't write them very well at all. So I'll usually feature him and just like, because the song will be finished at that point. I'll be like, yo, here's a song, here's my vocal line. It's just a lead line on top. Like write a bunch of harmonies and we'll see what works, and it'll be sweet. And he's always game because he's like, yeah, dude, he just loves doing that stuff. The process because that's how features work. I do everything myself. And then I'm like, okay, this vocal could add something here if they had a different kind of vocal that wasn't me. Or I don't feel like screaming today because screaming's really hit or miss with me. So I'm like, I'll get someone else to do it for a song. Or like, I don't find my guitar solos to be that impressive, so I'm like, I'll get someone else to do the guitar solo for this. Stuff like that, where it's like, it's my song, but I just grab someone else to help out, to kind of take it from being like okay to maybe a little bit better, you know? But collaborating, that's like, yeah, you kind of work together from scratch. Or it's more like a feature where one person has the idea, but like you're both way more involved than just a feature. So, let me think, something like that. Excuse me. There's a song, I think Holy Fire. That was more of a collaboration because Sable wrote the entire instrumental for that. And he had it. It was a fantastic instrumental, but he had no idea what to do with it. So I said, "Can I use this for a thing? Like a song, I'll try and make something up." And he was like, "Absolutely, go for it." So I took his instrumental, I re-recorded all the guitars and stuff, just to make them the same tone as my guitar. So like, because it was going on an album, so all the guitar tones had to be like similar, like to a point. So I re-recorded everything, all the drums, the guitars, wrote lyrics and did vocal. Then had him do vocal as well. I think he did some screamies and stuff. And so, but even though it's his instrumental completely, although the concept of the lyrics and the story of the song is completely my thing. So and it was never planned that way. He just showed me a thing, and I was like, "Yo, if you have no idea for it, I have some ideas for that." So that turned into a collab. I don't actually often collab with people. I'm really bad at working with other people, which is what me and Sable did, where he did his thing and then just gave it to me, and then I did my thing. Like, it was a very kind of series thing. Like, he did a part, then I did a part, rather than us working more in parallel together at the same time, because I hate that. I'm just really bad at it, working with people. Like if I used to try it when I'm back in like 2012. Like, me and a musician would get into a call and we'd try and bounce ideas back, and there's like a lot of things that kind of make that not a smooth process. Like, back then it was Skype, so Skype lag, Skype call quality. I couldn't get DAW audio from like my like ASIO drivers through into Skype, so he couldn't really hear it. I had to like turn my speakers up and point my mic at the speaker, and it just sounded crap. And there's lag, so if I would play a rhythm guitar part and they try to write a lead for it, it was either they'd be playing at a time over Skype, or I'd have to like render it out, send it to them, tell them the BPM and the key, and then they'd like record like one take of an idea and send it back. It was just such an involved process. It took forever, and the longer it takes to get the idea out of your head into the software, the less you're losing inspiration the whole time while that's happening. Like, you need to hear the progress you're making as it's happening to really keep your inspiration up while you're going, and your motivation. Otherwise it just takes too long and it's disheartening and I hate it. And that's kind of how it is with collabs. Like, I've gotten into a thing where I kind of do the way I like to do it, kind of mixed with the other way, where like instead of doing a big part myself and then the other person just finishing everything else themselves, or the other way around, I'll do like a little part, then they'll do a little part. Like, I'll write just drums or something, and then they'll write rhythm guitar, and then they'll pass that back, and then I'll write lead guitar. But there's a certain amount of trust involved there. You need to trust that the other person is good enough to write something that you'll actually like and will see potential in. And like, I don't know, I have a very particular way of writing, so I don't do it very often because, I don't know. It's partly that I'm worried that they won't write something I like, and if that happens, then I have to tell them that, and then they'll get mad at me, which is kind of worrying. It worries me a lot, because I don't like being mean to people. I hate it, but at the same time, there's no way in hell I'm releasing a song that I'm not happy with, so I have to tell them I don't like it, and I hate doing that. If that happens, of course. But yeah, I don't know. Collabs are hard. I don't like them. Is basically
how
that whole thing works.
You were talking about the Skype thing, and I tell you, my head was starting to hurt thinking about all of that.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, dude.
Yeah, when we were doing our reviews for season 4, we were using Skype, and we were having to do all these back end ways to kind of get our recordings right and everything. It was a mess. So I totally understand that. Skype is actually a lot better now in terms of lags and whatnot. It actually has a similar use that Google Plus Hangouts used to have, where you could record video and stuff like that. You were talking about how it can be, you have to listen to your stuff quite a bit, and you don't want to release stuff that you're not proud of. A lot of the other musicians that I have interviewed have all said that they tend to like hate their music by the time it's coming out onto YouTube because they've listened to it so much. Does that happen with you, or do you still like to listen to your own music?
It never happened that I hate it before I released it. It always happened like soon after I released it. I'd be like, oh, this is stupid, I should never release it, I hate it. But it doesn't happen anymore. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just arrogant, I don't know. But I just like how my stuff sounds, and I feel like, I don't know, that whole thing with musicians where they say that, I'm not sure how much I believe it, because anyone creative who actually is that self-critical, you would never release a track that you didn't genuinely think was good. You just wouldn't. Yeah. You'd be like, no, this is bad, it's going in the trash, I'm going to start over. Like, if that's honestly how you felt, you would not release it. Like, no, you like your stuff. You think you're decent at least, because it annoys me because people never say like, people will never tell you like, yes, I'm a good musician, because like we're taught that that's a really arrogant thing to say, and like on a certain level it is. But at the same time, if you can't recognize your like the positive parts of what it is you do, then why even do it? Like, if you really thought you were bad, then just fuck off, do something else. Don't waste other people's time. If you think you're actually bad, then why would you release something you think is bad? Like, why? No, you don't think you're bad, because then you wouldn't do it. You might not say it, but you definitely think you're at least good enough to put something out there. Like, of course you do. I don't subscribe to that whole mentality.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think it was more of like, they're sick of listening to it by the time they get it on YouTube. But your point still stands, where it's like, if you're a creative person, you know, I totally understand that. I go back and listen to our reviews because I still enjoy listening to what points we make in terms of what we liked and didn't like about a certain episode, you know. So I definitely understand that. Because I definitely agree. If you do not like what you're putting out, then why put it out?
I feel like they say they don't like it because you're meant to be kind of really humble about it and all that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good thing to be humble, but you need to not only recognize your weaknesses, but you need to recognize your strengths as well, because of course you have to. You have to take the good and the bad. It's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I agree completely. I remember I have an old acquaintance who he always told me. He said whenever people ask you, you know, when you're trying to push your music or talking about music, because I do my own music stuff. He was always like, you always have to tell them you're good. You know, any insecurities, you know, you have to acknowledge them to yourself, but throw them out when you're trying to, you know, push your product or, you know, sell your idea to people, because if people think you don't believe in your own thing, then no one else will buy into it. You know?
Yeah.
So it's and then, as you said, it's very ingrained that we're supposed to not even just self-critique. It's ingrained that we're supposed to like almost pseudo-hate ourselves in an attempt to stay humble. But it's like, there's literally nothing wrong, and you said this too. There's literally nothing wrong with acknowledging when you yourself believe. You're like, you know what? I wrote a good song right now.
Yeah, like it's a hard line to walk, because you need to also be like critical about yourself. Like, I've written some songs I feel are really good, but then I know like there's limitations. I know I can't sing that high. I know I can't sustain notes for super long. I know I always write in drop C or C minor every fucking time. I know that like I know a lot of my songs kind of sound samey because they're all written in the same key, and I know I use a lot of the same chord progressions and lead lines, and it's annoying, and I know I do it, but I'm trying really hard to get out of it. So like, and I've a lot of my songs recently haven't been in those kind of keys. But yeah, you need to recognize both things. You can't just be like, I'm shit and I should never make music, and you can't be like, oh, I'm the best ever. You need to recognize like both sides of yourself.
So again, about between fairy tales and happy endings, I wanted to ask your for your insight on the theme of it, because it's a very somber tune, and lyrically, at face value, and with the picture and stuff, looking at the lyrics first glance, it could be it could be applied to Derpy. So I wanted to ask, but it's also the lyrics are crafted in a way to where they're pretty applicable. So I wanted to ask if the theme of the song is is it fully about Derpy, or does it fall in that umbrella of being applicable to, to everyone? And if it is about Derpy, was it specifically based on the controversy that surrounded her in season 2?
Yeah, the way it was written it was totally just about Derpy, because, back then, I was 2012, 2013, I was in the height of my, I was just so into horses, it was my entire life. Still kind of is, but, not as crazy, because I've kind of grown up a little bit. But, back then it was, full throttle, everything is horse is life, Brony for life, XD, and all that. And I'm still kind of that way, but not as insane about it. But, yeah, it was about Derpy, but, I don't feel like it's not really that I wrote the lyrics in a way that could be applicable to other things. It's just her situation is applicable to other things.
Yeah.
And because of that, the lyrics kind of follow that, and they're also applicable to other things. Because it was a whole thing about we shouldn't have her on show because it's offensive to handicapped people or something. Well, that was the soccer mom's argument anyway. And yeah, and they took off the show for that, or they censored her for that, and I was like, that's what the hell, isn't that the opposite message? You're not meant to see these things are bad and it can't be shown. It's this is kind of dumb. And yeah, there are definitely some parallels that could be drawn in the lyrics and stuff to real life bullying and being is ostracized the right word? But being kind of cast out because you're a different kind of person or something. So yeah, there's some parallels there, and yeah, I think that worked out really well. It's one of those songs where the lyrics kind of just flowed together when I was writing them. Usually it takes me ages to write lyrics. I hate writing lyrics, but that one was really easy to write, and it just worked out pretty well. And it was also I think that was my first big breakout song. People actually started paying attention to that one. I think that was my most viewed song ever until very recently. So kind of from 2012. So yeah, that worked out great. And yeah, I think the theme has some pretty good broadly applicable, what would you say, lessons in it, lessons, morals, whatever, something like that.
Yeah, I get you. Before I move on, just one last little note. I wanted the public platform to say that the friendship is magic, nothing but tragic line. That was gold, man. I love that line. Man. I know it's always been a meme in the fandom to take the friendship is magic and take it friendship is X, or make a quirky little thing out of it, but I love that lyric.
It's such a meme now, because so many musicians will rhyme the whole magic and tragic, because there's not any other words that really rhyme with magic as far as I can tell. It's always tragic,
unless you say lethargic really weird.
Lethargic, yeah.
Lethargic.
If you want to put a southern drawl to it, you can. But I also like how it's also gone not from just musicians using friendship as magic in their songs, but also how if you want to put a dark spin on the show, whether it be a comic or fan fiction or whatever, that there was one picture I remember specifically that it was Starlight kind of backed up into a corner, and then you had Sunset and Moondancer, and I believe those are the two. But it was, do you know the oldest lie in Equestria?
Oh my god.
Friendship is magic.
Edgy. Top tier counterculture.
Yeah, I love me some edgies. They're my favorite.
Right. So the next song that I wanted to talk about was Taking Flight.
Oh yeah.
For this one, I remember this song wasn't like a first pick to have on this chopping block, but I remember I re-listened because I was like, I can't remember, do I like this song? And 2 seconds in, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, this song rules. I remember I love when I first heard it, I loved its power metal feel. I'm Dio, Pagan's Mind, that kind of stuff. And then the chorus, and I love how the chorus hits you with that little bit of Tim Lambesis. That's good. And I wanted to take this song to ask, when you're putting this song together, a song like this where, it feels like you're if you'll forgive the cheese, it feels like you're like flying through the air.
Oh, yeah.
With the Wonderbolts. So for a song like this, I know you said you hate writing lyrics, but when you're trying to put the lyrics together, is it coming from a place of not so much trying to convey a message or even necessarily tell a story? Is it trying to more paint an image and immerse the listener into the song?
This actually reminds me of a question. Or was something I told my music professor in college, because he asked me how I think about operatic songs, like how do you view it, and he worded the question in a way that actually like prompted me to answer the way I did, but it basically turned out that my answer was the feeling you get from a song comes from the instrumental, like the way it's arranged, the kind of riffs you use, the melodies, the scale. That's what gives the feeling to what it is, and like the feeling of flying that you described, that's kind of that's how that comes from. That comes from the instrumental, as far as I'm aware, and the lyrics, they're what give a meaning to that feeling. Like they kind of tell you why you're feeling that way, like, or describe it in a way, and that's like, so you got a feeling, and then you got a meaning that goes with it, and that's what a song is to me. Like the instrumental is your feelings, and the lyrics put the meaning into that. So, because that song, as soon as because I always write an instrumental first. I never write lyrics. I never have a concept for what the song's going to be about. I like to have a general concept. The only concept I have is like, is it going to be a happy song? Is it going to be an angry, edgy song? And I was like, okay, we're going to make this fast. It's going to be edgy. It's going to be interesting. And then I started writing it. I got into that lead riff, like the power metal-y, metalcore-y, fast like pedal riff that I did on that. I was like, yep, this is a Wonderbolt song. Straight up, it's too fast to be anything else. Like it could be a Rainbow Dash song, I guess, but it's too much for her even.
It's too much for her.
If it's better like if it's faster than Rainbow Dash, then what even is it? It's like, it's the Wonderbolts. It's like they're who she looks up to, so it's got to be these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so I wrote about them, and the whole story of the song just kind of came into my head. I didn't read fanfics back then. I don't know. I was just an edgy teenager, and I was like, yeah, they're like test subjects that were made into these super genetically engineered fast flying horses. I don't know. And they just made some edgy thing up for it, and like I try to make it coherent enough. And there were some like lyrical stabs I already had in mind, like God, what was it? That line in the second verse about like, oh, if I could do it all over again, I'd still do it, even though it kind of screwed everything up, or something like that.
Oh yeah. Was it more coming from the place of trying to paint an image / immerse the person in the song, because it tells a story. But I remember just re-listening to the song, and I was just like, this whole track just feels like some immersive, like almost world building type of thing,
Okay, yeah. With the lyrics, I was going for a story most of all, I think, and where I write story and lyrics is like, I'll write a chorus first, because the chorus is something that repeats itself. So it needs to be...
Yes.
So as the story is going throughout, from the beginning of the song to the end of the song, the chorus, whatever lyrics are in the chorus, they need to be relevant the whole time. So like, which is hard, it's annoying, because like, things change during the story, so like, but keeping the chorus relevant to everything happening was hard. So that's why in that song there's 2 verses before the first chorus even hits. And then the third chorus kind of just like continues on, and then the third verse continues on, and then there's another chorus, and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I was definitely going mostly for a story in that one. Like, and it's kind of like the same kind of thing, because if you write the story well enough, then it will immerse the listener in what it is you're saying. So like, they kind of go hand in hand in a way. But yeah, my priority was just telling the story, and if people got immersed in it from that, then hooray, good job me.
Yeah, I hear you. What were your like key musical ideas? Not musical ideas, but kind of influences when you were putting the music together for this one.
Oh, for that one, okay. There's this band. The main riff in that is actually super similar to this. What, I forget what's the name of the song? I forget the name of the song, but it's a German metalcore band called Callejon, with a J. Like, I think it's meant to be like the Spanish word for collision, I think, something like that. I'm not sure.
That is the Spanish word for that. Yeah.
The song is called Las Mich Gehen. Yeah, the main riff from Taking Flight is heavily referencing the similar main riff from Callejon's Las Mich Gehen. And then I do it really weird. I have one riff like that for the first verse, and then I change riffs for the second verse. It's a very similar riff, but the timing's all different, and some of the notes are different. And then I switch back to the first riff for the third verse after doing the chorus. And I don't know, my songwriting used to be a lot more all over the place. It's another bad thing I really don't like about how I write songs now. It's gotten a lot more formulaic, but I'm trying to break out of that because I know it's happening. It's really annoying me.
I feel you.
But yeah, that's where that's where a lot of the inspiration for Taking Flight.
Cool. Let's see here. What do I got? Okay, so next, Shallow Naivety. Well, I only really have one question. I really just put this on the list because I wanted to tell you face to face that song rules. It's one of my favorite songs you ever written. But that's a pretty dark little tune. What were you channeling when you were crafting that one?
Oh, that song is just about me and my ex breaking up, straight up.
You know, I thought I got those vibes, but I'm just like, should I just straight up ask him that? No, because what if it's something complex? But okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, like we had a pretty bad breakup, so like I was having a lot of feelings when I wrote that one, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. In my opinion, I still like the song. I want to redux it, but at the same time, I don't want to like make reference back to that relationship because it was a bad time. So like, I got mixed feelings about what I want to do. I think I've settled on a midway point where I'm gonna redo the instrumental because it's just instruments. Who cares?
Gotcha.
And the mix, but I'm not gonna re-sing the lyrics because I don't feel the same anymore. I don't care about that whole thing. It's just done and it's over with. So I wouldn't be able to put the same amount of emotion as I did. So. But like I think I used the same microphone back then anyway, so it should mix fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll see.
My experience with songs like that is because subject matters like that are very topical. So I make a lot of angry music. So I always have this joke I tell people. I'm like, you see, I don't sing about stuff that like makes me mad in the moment. I think of stuff that makes me mad all the time, you know, just as a little wink wink nudge nudge. So this song, I know musically it's on the more I guess less layered side than the other songs, but I wanted to talk about Not Letting Go with P1K Scrambles and Ismboff. I wanted to because this is the first song I ever heard from you, and saying that out loud, especially seeing when it was uploaded, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me feel really, really old.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
But yeah, I mean, it was a pop punk song about Fluttershy. I was like, I'm about this. So that's obviously the first question is the lyrical themes here. Was it inspired by was there like a specific episode that inspired some of these lyrics, or was it about Fluttershy's treatment in general in those early seasons? Because, you know, watching it back, I mean, she wasn't like abused, but you know, Fluttershy got put through a lot of crap. So
yeah, I wrote it around Hurricane Fluttershy because like she was I think she was second favorite up until then. I think Rainbow was my favorite for like most of the first couple seasons. But Hurricane Fluttershy completely just 180 that. In one episode, they completely changed that into Fluttershy being my favorite. Because she like went through so much crap in that episode, and then like, oh man, and Rainbow pressured her a lot into doing something she really did not want to do.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like a thing of like, oh, this will like better your confidence. It's like, no, bro, you're essentially just fighting a freaking hurricane.
Yeah, and Rainbow's like, oh man, just like super pressuring her to doing it. And
one of my other favorite things about the episode is that, you know, she has the initial aspect of her just not being able to do anything, and then she goes crying, and her animal friends help her, you know, with the whole montage and everything, and then it still doesn't get her enough.
Yeah,
that right there is big, because no matter how hard you try, you may not always succeed, but you need to keep at it until you can succeed.
Yeah, it was great because it shows like it's like classic hero's journey kind of stuff. It shows that you don't always get what you want just by good intentions and trying hard the first time. But she did make improvements, so it makes clear like you can improve. It's just you don't expect to go from 1 to 100 in like a day. Which I thought was a great lesson to teach. And then she pulled through for Rainbow Dash and helped out and saved everyone, and it was great. It was just such a good episode. Oh, so many good moments in that. But yeah, that song really, because I was thinking about doing a song for her anyway, because like I like her a lot.
Yeah.
But that episode really, I was like, yep, I'm doing it. It's happening. Let's go.
Yeah, Fluttershy has always been my favorite. That's why it made me really sad when she only had like 8 lines in the entire movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one they released in theaters. I don't know if you ever saw it, but yeah, she has like 8 lines in that whole movie. It's really sad. But my next question in relation to this song is some of my favorite musicians and or bands, and plus just inspirations for music in general are a bunch of genre hopping artists. So I apologize for the kind of broad question, but how do you like work your songs to where they're different? I know you said you were kind of falling into a formulaic thing, but to us, they all sound pretty different, and but they still feel like you. I think I think you're at a point where you have people are like, oh, that's the Princewhatever tone. So like, how do you because it's more than just a voice, isn't it? So how do you maintain that structure?
I am unsure. Like, I think a lot of it does come from the keys I use. I always use it's simple stuff. I always use a simple minor key or a major key. That's and there's certain ways I write things that I know there's a lot of things I do that's kind of samey, but not in a way that I think is not in a way that I think is just bad. Because rhythm guitars, I'll write a lot of rhythm guitar, and it will always be something kind of similar, like the way the progression of the chords. It will always be something fairly similar, but I don't really mind that, even though I know I'm doing it, because it's not the rhythm guitar that really gives you the terminology is hard. It's like the texture of the song, like how it may sound to a person, how new they'll think it sounds. It's the lead guitar, because the lead is the really that's the part your brain kind of hooks onto, because it's the more active changing part of what you're listening to.
Yeah.
But the rhythm just kind of lays a bass line for that to kind of harmonize over. So yeah, I guess it's in the rhythm and the way I mix. I don't know, which is it's weird, because my drums have stayed mostly the same. I have changed them a little bit over the years. They've changed a lot at one point, and then I kind of left them mostly the same after that. My guitar tone has changed completely recently, although it's not changed that much. It's a different amp with a different cab and a different load of stuff. It's a completely different setup.
Yeah.
It's just that I've set it up to a tone that I like, and I've got it as close as I can to what I imagine the best tone I can make is. And that's the same thing I did with my old amp. I got it as close as the best tone I could make. So I guess it sounds kind of similar, but I do prefer the new one a lot. I don't know. I guess that might be a strength of doing things a certain way, is that you always have a signature kind of sound.
Yeah.
There's I've talked about this before in other interviews. There's this idea in my head of the perfect song, and it's something that it starts with a nice intro. It has a pretty solid, very rhythmic, not super energetic, but very rhythmic verse. Kind of a building pre-chorus, starting with a low vocal, and then a big high vocal, big guitars and other instruments in the chorus. That's how I always want to go. You have kind of a low-key verse, and then it kind of builds with a pre-chorus into a big chorus. That's because every song that has done that, I love, and it just, I don't know, it's something I think is just the best thing ever. I love it. So that's kind of, I've done it, I've tried to do it with more or less every song, but the best examples I could give were probably Frailty. For the longest time was the closest I ever got to that, to perfecting that formula. It's got the whole thing in the verse, and it's kind of a back and forth vocal, and it's there's a guitar riff going on, it's very rhythmic, and then the pre-chorus is just a couple strummed chords, and that low line is like, oh, how can I win this fight? And then then you just start, all the guitars come in, the drums come in, you just scream Twilight. It's so super fucking loud. and the chorus just hits, and that's like my idea of like a really good composition in a song. And pursuing that has meant I've kind of had my own sound, and that's become my sound in a way. But it also means that a lot of my songs can be predictable, but kind of in a way that I like, because I'm trying to get to that point where I'm making the song I want to make, like the one with the big chorus and the cool pre-chorus. And then like there's other things like getting a breakdown for like, it's for variation and it adds a kind of heavy element to the song. And then another thing is a second chorus, like not as in the chorus again, as in like a completely different chorus, like in Frailty, where like does the chorus where it's like Twilight, don't let them get the best of you. And then it goes into the second chorus where it's like, so dark down here for what you done. And then the vocals are really high, and then it's the same chords, but I've changed them to be more, what is it? I can show you. Let me grab the guitar real quick.
Oh, sick.
I'm really proud of how I wrote that song. I'm still like, it's not my favorite anymore. I think Solidarity is my favorite now. But that kind of breaks away from that, what would you say, that formula a little bit. But I think it worked out as well. But yeah, the first chorus is just straight power chords, just like, is the first, like, what is it? Twilight, don't let them get the best of you. And it goes up. Just those three. And then the second time you do it, same bass chords, but you're adding in extra stuff. So instead of just going, it goes. And it just, like, it gets super, I don't know, it just makes it sound so much more emotional. Where it's just like, instead of just normal power chords. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. But yeah, that's like my whole writing thing. I try to get that sound. I want to get that composition in a track, and I feel like I've gotten pretty close to like my idea of the perfect song or whatever. I'm not saying that my songs are perfect, just like that kind of composition is what I want to achieve, and I've gotten pretty close.
Yeah. And
I still think Frailty is probably the closest.
Like it check. It's like you said, it checks all the boxes in a way to like the, you know, quote unquote perfect song that you want to write.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. I believe that was all of them. Oh yeah, and then I also just wanted to bring quick attention to your Nightmare Night cover that you did recently. I thought that was rad. Simple question. What led you to cover that song? Is it a song you've always wanted to do, just never got to, or?
Oh, I covered it like way back in the day, like when I first started getting into the fandom. Because I started off just doing covers of other pony musician stuff. I didn't write my own stuff because I wasn't too confident in my songwriting, which is that's kind of an anxiety that stuck with me forever. But I'm getting better, I think. But yeah, I covered it way back in the day. It got pretty popular. I remember I went to my first horse meetup thing, and like I was just some random guy who was there. I was just chilling out with people, and they played that on their like they had like one of those YouTube playlists just up playing through some pony songs, and that one came on. And I was like, oh well, it's me. I didn't say anything because I was super like anxious back then. I had all these people I'd never met before. I was kind of silently was like, oh cool, they put on my song. That's sweet. Well, my cover of that song anyway.
God,
so that felt good. But yeah, the redux of that, I've been meaning to do it forever. And I think, I want to say it was Sylphstorm. He uploaded one in 2018, even though he kind of vanished for years. And his redux of it, of his version of his cover of it, and I was like, yo, I should probably do that. And it was about Halloween time. So, and I've been meaning to do it every Halloween because I think for 2 Halloweens where I meant to do Nightmare Night redux, I did I think I did ponified versions of Nightmare Before Christmas songs instead.
Ah.
Yeah. I did.
That's always good.
I did This Is Halloween. But yeah, I was like, no, I gotta do it. I've been telling myself I'll do it for like 3 years. I need to do this now. So I did it, and yeah, I think it worked out pretty good. I was worried because for years I didn't really have anyone that I could contact to do orchestral stuff, but now I've got a couple people. So I'm lucky enough to have a couple people I can ask, and they'll usually be free enough to help me out, and it's great. So yeah, I was like, finally, I have some people that can help me make this into a reality. So yeah, we worked on it, and it totally worked out, and I'm super happy with it.
One more song I want to get into before we jump back over to kind of the more generic questions is I wanted to talk about your song that you did with Acoustic Brony Breaking Bonds.
Oh yeah.
The one about Gilda. Was that song specifically made for Balloon Party? Or was it something that Balloon Party contacted you and was like, hey, what song would you like us to put on here?
Oh, that one was made specifically for Balloon Party. I was basically, like, I was nobody back then. I wasn't even, no one knew who I was really. Excuse me. But yeah, me and Acoustic Brony were like pretty good friends because him and Mando were like besties, and they were like both getting pretty far in the whole fandom thing. And I was just starting out. And Acoustic Brony just like messaged me. I think it was on Facebook or on Skype. No, it might have been on. It was actually it was on YouTube, because back then YouTube had a DM system, even though I think it technically still does, but it's like super not friendly anymore.
Yeah, it's super convoluted to try and get something sent over.
It's dumb, but yeah, he messaged me there, and he just wanted to hang out because like we were some of the only like British rock musician horse people back then, and we used to hang out like all the time and just talk on Skype for hours and just talk absolute crap. And that meet I told you that I went to, that he was the one who invited me there. He was like, yo, we got some meet happening in London, there's gonna be like 700 people there or something. We're gonna just like, watch, like someone's bringing a bunch, because back then like there was like no merch really around. It was like someone imported a bunch of merch they were gonna sell, and we're gonna like watch some episodes and do a little acoustic live thing. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll come down. And yeah, basically that's a bit of context, because it was him who told me that, well, Ed from Acoustic Brony, because it's actually two people, but yeah, Ed was the one who I talked to most. He told me that Balloon Party was going to be a thing, and he's like, yeah, you do like metal in the fandom and stuff. These guys, the premise of this album is we're meant to go as hard as possible, like we should work on something together that goes super hard. And I was like, because I'd never really made a song that was like just meant to be stupid, heavy, or just aggressive or whatever. And like I've made stuff that it was never like made to be that way, just kind of how it happened. But this one, he said, you're meant to just go crazy, and I was like, sure, I'll go crazy. And then that's pretty much all the direction he gave me. And then I thought, I went away and thought about it, because I wrote pretty much the entire song. I thought about it, I was like, okay, what do we do to go crazy with this? Like if it's just me, that's not really that impressive, because all I can do is just chuggy and do some screamy stuff. And I don't think I did any screaming on that one. No, I did on the original one, not on the new one though. And I was like, okay, we need something that, because all the previews coming out for that album were all EDM stuff and like dubstep and rapping, and I was like, we need something like that, because rap is super aggressive. Rap could be hella aggressive, and so is dubstep. We need to incorporate some of that in here, like synthesizers and like super heavy drums and stuff. So I was like, okay, I didn't have many contacts, but Ed from Acoustic Brony, he did. So I was like, okay, go get these people, and any ones you can't get, I'll try and find people as well with my very limited reach at the time, and I'll try and sort something out. So he got Mando to do the first verse on vocals. He also sent a demo of the song to I Bring the Lulls, who did the rap, and I think I knew MHM at the time, DJ MHM, who did the dubstep part, and then Acoustic Brony knew Lavender, who did the final mastering on that. It's the one time I think someone did mastering that wasn't me on one of my tracks, although it was a big collab track, so I was like, fine, I guess they can do the mastering, whatever.
I'll let them touch my stems.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, like it worked out pretty okay.
Next question I have for you is, you did have a little stint where you were on Bronies React. Do you want to kind of give me a bit of your experience with doing that? Like, was it AC Racebats that contacted you and was like, hey, do you want to come on and join us for something?
Yeah, he contacted me for the first one. And honestly, after that, he never contacted me again, but I can totally get why, because I rewatched my part, and I'm like, God, that was so boring. I was not used to being on camera. I don't know, I had a really bad camera. I didn't really make any interesting points. I was just dumb. And like, I don't know, I was a kid, so I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I was on it again for the newest, and I think the last one, the one for, the epilogue. No, epilogue? Yes, the epilogue episode.
That's a nice little bookend. You're at the first one, you're at the last episode, but
yeah, I just wanted to give a little like thing about how I joined the fandom, not how I joined the fandom, like why. I forget his direction. It was something like what has the fandom done for you? How would you explain how this has affected your life, basically, is what he said. And I gave a little thing about that, and I thought that was much better. And he actually used pretty much all of it, even though I thought he'd probably cut it to like 10 seconds. Because I told him, I was like, okay, I recorded like a 40-second to like a minute of me just talking about my life, basically. And I included some fucking B-roll and everything, and I was like, you could just cut it, because I specifically summarized everything I was going to say at the first 10 seconds, and then explained it afterwards, because I knew he probably wanted it quite short. So I was like, okay, I summarized it here, you can cut it at this time code, and then, yeah, that's fine. But no, he kept the whole thing, so I was like, oh, sweet, nice dude, thank you. So that was cool. And yeah, it was really easy. He messaged me on, I think, Skype back then, and then on Twitter DMs this time for those. I was like, yo, like, he messaged me like, oh, I don't know if you remember being part of this thing like years ago, but yeah, we'd like to have you on again. I was like, of course I remember, dude.
It's like, do you remember?
It was cool. And then I think we were both at Ciderfest, and I didn't even know. Oh no, of course he knew what I looked like. He edited the video. Because he was like, oh yeah, hey dude, thanks for coming on and stuff. And I was thinking, how does he know what I look like? And then I just realized, like, of course he knows what you look like, idiot. But yeah, that was really cool, and he was really cool. So yeah, that was a good experience as far as I was concerned. And even though I was really late with my parts, but it worked out fine because the video came out like way later anyway.
What I found interesting was, this was before I met AC Race Fest, and everyone before had said he doesn't really talk to people that are outside his friends and all this other stuff. And then I go to MLP MSP in 2015, and I just go up to him and I'm like, hey, big fan of Bronies React and all this stuff. And he was like super chill. So it's like, there's some sort of disconnect between what people are saying and who he actually is.
Maybe they mean like online, because like I can imagine he gets a lot of messages online like every day.
Oh, I bet. Next question we have for you is kind of going on your favorites and least favorites. What is your favorite and least favorite solo song?
Oh, jeez.
If you were able to pick, of course, you have about a few songs. So
there have been ones I've done on commission that I wasn't too happy with, but I couldn't really change it that much because it had to be to what the commissioner wanted. Favorite, I'd say Solidarity right now, because that finally took my favorite spot from Frailty, like when I made it, because I try to be like more kind of serious with my music, but that one I was like, nah, we're going full in, all my feelings. I love horses, they're the best, I don't care, I'm gonna be fully like autismo in this song, I don't give a fuck. All in. Like, because I'm trying to hold back like how cringy I can be, because I can be hella cringy, but
that's a mood.
With that song I was like, nah, don't care. Using all like the some ponies and the lyrics and stuff, and I was like, yep, don't care, going in. But least favorite, dude, I don't know. It would probably be a cover if it was something.
Okay.
But because like then I don't really get control over it. Left Behind was kind of meh. Although that's not because the song was bad, it's because the production was bad. Although some of the lyrics are kind of meh.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be something really old if it was anything. Like the original Rainbow Thrash or Gilda's Fight.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yes.
Something awful like that.
Wow, I
could
feel
totally
old.
make that decent nowadays. Yeah, I feel you.
What about your favorite and least favorite collab?
Least favorite collab. Favorite collab, like actual collab. I'm not sure if it is. Together Against the Sisters that came out recently with G-Pro, that's popped off. People have absolutely just gone crazy for that. I think it's been like out for a month and it's almost got 500,000 views already.
Wow.
That's right, I saw that. I remember seeing that, and I was like, I didn't know we were gonna do the interview, so I saw that and I was like, good for you, Prince. Good for you. I'm glad someone in this fandom has some staying power.
Yeah, dude. That completely blew up, and I'm so happy about that.
You're one of the last old guard that haven't moved on yet. Well, in the sense of changing the name or changing the profile picture, like like Mondo did.
Oh yeah, I'm amazed he still has Pony in his name.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he hasn't changed that out. But least favorite collab. I'm not sure. I don't think I have a least favorite. I'm trying to see here. Early day stuff.
Do you have like any collaborations that weren't all that fun to do?
Breaking Bonds got a bit tedious towards the end of it because there were so many people involved. It was me, Acoustic Brony, Lavender, a guy called George did some screamy stuff, and Mando and Lols and MHM. I had to do a mix and bounce it to every single one of them, and then unless everyone liked it, I couldn't move on to the final master with Lavender.
Oof.
So it was just tedious, constantly every day bouncing with super minor tweaks that no one was ever going to notice. I was like, why are we bothering? It sounds great. No one, back then it sounded great anyway for that era. No one's going to care about these small tweaks we're making. Except the person who wrote the part, because they can hear the tiny differences. That was just tedious, but probably the worst was, if we're talking about collabs, it's not really the song came out bad, it's just the thing we were collabing on, that part of it wasn't great. It was for the album version of Not Letting Go, the original one.
Yeah.
I think I had an old horse musician who I don't think he does anything anymore, called S'mores. He did the final mix on that. I don't know why I gave him I think he wanted to try out mixing rock music, and I thought his mixes on his own stuff were pretty good, and he does electronic stuff, so I was like, yeah, sure, you can try out a mix on it. And I think we were in a Skype call for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Doing that mix.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And in the end, we thought it was good. And this is what can happen if you listen to the same thing over and over again. It doesn't happen to me anymore. Somehow it doesn't bother me that much. I think I just take breaks frequently enough. But if you listen to something over and over and over again, you kind of lose how it sounds. It just sounds like a noise. Like if you say the same word over and over again, it just doesn't sound like a word anymore. It's just a sound. But so at the end of this, we thought the mix was good. And then I come back to a week later after releasing it. I'm like, Christ, this is awful. It's over compressed. The guitar is mushy sounding. It just sounds like it's been run through 3 limiters all maxed out. It just sounds awful.
Oh god.
And I hated it. And I was like, God, we shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have let him use my stems and put it on my own album. For fuck's sake. It really annoyed me. But I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's because we both were just listening to the song over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my least favorite probably.
What would you say has been your favorite thing about making this pony music in general? Being contributing and to the fandom for all these years.
My favorite thing? Oh man, I don't know. If we're being superficial, my favorite thing would be people actually caring who I am. That's really nice. When I go to my first time going to a con, an actual con, was BronyCon 2013. I'd been to a con before, but that was more kind of coincidence because I don't know if either of you guys play Yu-Gi-Oh, but there's this event called YCS, which is it's the national championship kind of thing basically, and that was happening in the same venue as Expo in London. And I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh back then. I was actually pretty good at the game, so I went to play in the tournament. But it was just, if you entered YCS, which was another incentive to go. If you entered YCS, that also meant you got free entry for the con for the whole weekend. So I was like, sure, I'll get to go con and play card game. And yeah, it was fun. That was the first con I went to. It was huge, but there was not really any pony there, and I wasn't super hyped into I like expos, but there's nothing that I care about that much. If I go to a vendor stall, it'll be a bunch of random anime I've never seen, and maybe a couple things from a couple animes I have seen, or shows I've seen. So it's whereas Pony is everything everywhere is all stuff I actually care about, and it's just crazy. It's sensory overload in the best way. So yeah, went to my first BronyCon, which was BronyCon 2013, and I think within 20 minutes of me entering the con place, the actual convention center, 2 guys had come up to me and said, "Yo, are you Princewhateverer? Oh my god, can we get a picture with you and your autograph and stuff?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" It's what is this? It's
what do you mean?
Yeah, it's what the hell?
What is my life?
I was yeah, I wasn't sure what to do. I was like, oh god, because back then I'd never done this thing before. So like the whole
Yeah.
writing my name, which I've changed my like Princewhateverer signature. I've changed that like 3 times, and I finally settled on one now. But so whoever it was who got it back then, it doesn't look like anything now. It just looks stupid, probably.
Yo, collector's item, man.
First edition.
Yeah.
$2,000 on eBay for the Princewhatever signature.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, because they were like, I want to take a picture of me, and like you do the whole pose thing where you like do a peace sign, you have a smile and stuff, and I'm like, God, this feels cringy. I'm just some kid. Why am I being the one asked to pose with people? And that was awesome. It was a great feeling. It was amazing. And then I had to play 2 shows on the stage. I only did like 1 song. I was only featuring with DB Pony because I was a little babby back then and no one really knew me that well.
DB Pony's another guy that I really like.
Yeah, he's great. I'm glad he kind of came back. He's back in the horses now.
Cool.
Which is sick. But yeah, that was probably the coolest thing on a superficial level. Like on a deeper level, like I feel like I've definitely grown as a person a lot more than I would have otherwise, because I was God, what would you say? I wasn't really a problem child. I was kind of a bad kid before horses. I was a really bad kid. I used to do a lot of like not cool stuff, which I'm super not proud of. Like, yeah, I won't get into it. But I was a bad kid. I was a problem child. But at the same time, I was like still a super nervous, anxious little babby, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just did stuff to kind of make myself look cool. Because back then, me and all my friends, we were like skateboarders and stuff, and that comes with a certain like aesthetic. You're meant to be kind of a badass. You're meant to like do crazy shit and not care, and be kind of like, if the police kind of stop you, you're meant to just mouth off at them and be an unpleasant person, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and a few of my friends, we still skate together now, but we're like, we're all grown up and not stupid kids anymore. But yeah, I used to like try really hard to be a super badass kid because I thought that made me look cool. But at the same time, I was an anxious wreck, and so I just did stupid crap and bad stuff, but at the same time didn't have the balls to kind of go through with a lot of stuff, so I was the worst of both sides. But now I'm a lot better. I don't do that stuff anymore, and I won't do anything unless I like really commit to it, and I won't say things unless I mean what I'm saying. I won't just kind of like be reactive about stuff. I won't just say things for the sake of saying something in the moment to seem cool. I'll actually think about what I'm doing. Stuff like that. I feel like I've grown as a person a lot, and a lot of that is to do with the fandom, because the fandom not only like gave me the show that I really love and I've absolutely just adored since I started watching it, it also gave me the opportunity to like go to different countries, meet different people, experience like what it's like to have people come up to you and want to like get pictures with you because you're someone they care about. It's crazy. And yeah, all those experiences have been absolutely incredible and really helped me just like grow as a person. I think I feel that way anyway.
Well, you went from trying to be a badass kid to legitimately becoming, wait for it, a badass musician.
I mean, if other people think of me that way, then hell yeah, but I wouldn't say that myself.
So the last question we have for you, you have any shoutouts you'd like to give?
I don't know, mainly Jikro, because he's an absolutely phenomenal orchestral musician. His compositions are amazing, his ideas are amazing, his storylines are great, and I love working with him, and it always seems to work out really well for us when we work together. Secondly, Ms. Manta Subasa, my lady friend. She is the best thing that ever happened to in my life. Maybe second to the fandom, maybe. Nah, she's the best. She's the best thing ever. She's a perfect complement personality-wise to everything I am. Like, I can be overconfident and cocky and a bit arrogant sometimes, and she's super the opposite of all that and kind of but she's the kind where she'll keep me in check and tell me like, dude, you're being stupid, and I'm like, oh, you're right. If I like step back and kind of pay attention to what it is I'm doing or saying, and so I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm being dumb right now. Yeah, she's wonderful, and we're putting on a online pony convention called Europon.
Ooh.
Because mainly because the US conventions are great. It's just that time zones are bad for people in the EU, and shipping for vendor stuff is bad for people in the EU. So we're making kind of an EU-centric one, in case for people who can't really be up super late or can't afford the crazy shipping. So yeah, we're working on that. God, I don't know. There's hella people like.
You could do a blanket statement like for good PR and just be like, I'd like to shout out everyone I've ever worked with ever.
I hate when people do that. It's like, that doesn't tell me who you've worked with. That doesn't help anything. What are you doing? Fucking milk toast, bitch. Oh. Yeah. I'll do one more. Scrambles. CG Scrambles. He did screamy stuff. He's done screamy stuff on a few of my songs. The most notable is probably Destabilize on both versions he did it. Because the story of how we became friends, like I'll try and keep it brief because I know we're trying to wrap this up. But basically I ordered a Derpy messenger bag from We Love Fine back when that was what it was called, and it got sent to the completely wrong address. It got sent to Liverpool, which is 5 hours north of me. And I get a letter in the mail. Or, no, I get the package in the mail like a couple weeks after it was meant to get to me, and it's from this random guy. And he literally wrote a letter and printed it out and put it in with the package. He said like stuff like, "Oh, this was sent to the wrong address. Like, I sent it to the address labeled on the package, like as I guess it should have been. I don't know why it came to me, and don't worry about trying to send me the money back for the delivery. Like, what's a couple bucks between bronies or whatever, because like it was the height of the fandom." And he put a little picture of Derpy at the bottom, like with the little messenger thing. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so sweet." And luckily, I think he included his name somewhere in it, and I because that's the only one. I had no contact with this guy, just some random guy who got my package out of like complete coincidence. So yeah, all I had was his name. So I looked up his name on Facebook. I didn't have a Facebook before this, so I made a Facebook and looked him up. And I think he didn't really use his Facebook. It took him like a week or two to respond. And then since then, we've been like we've been best friends ever since. And he's featured on my songs. He's a great musician. We visit each other. He played bass for me in a BronyCon in America because we both flew out there. It's been a magical journey to be able to share that kind of relationship with this guy, because unless I'd have bought that messenger bag exactly when I did buy it, we would have never met or been friends ever. And it's just crazy to me. So yeah, that's the thing. Mr. Craig CG Scrambles.
So thank you very much for coming on. This was an absolute blast to do. I know it kind of went over quite a bit, but hey, it's fun when you're just chilling and hanging out with good friends.
Absolutely, it was a great time. Thank you guys for having me.
So that's it from me, John.
And me, Snakeskin.
And me, I suppose.
Yep. And we'll talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.
Adios.